Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 33rd Comic Art Live show presented by Comic Art Fans, Comic Art Live, whatever you want to say. I'm wearing my Comic Art Live shirt tonight as a reminder, to remind you that the next Comic Art Live convention is the weekend of May 22nd and 23rd. So put that on your calendars. The exhibition hall for setup will probably start around May 1st, giving everybody about 3 weeks to get the booth set up. So wanted to get that out there early and give you guys the word. It's still going to be on CAF. I don't have any time to make a separate site for that show, so keep that in mind and look for the updates for when we're ready to get the show rolling. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, let me bring in the hosts of the show. Good evening, Glenn, Mike, and Will. How you guys doing, gentlemen?
All is well.
Ready to go.
Very good. You.
Nice to see you guys 2 weeks in a row after having 2 weeks off in a row. So we got to keep the familiar clan together here.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're here, Bill. We're here.
I know I know how to get a hold of you if I need to. So
2 weeks in a row, and we're on a roll already.
I know, but we've already got an off date next week. So we're breaking the train. Yeah, I forget why. Well, because we always do 2 on and 1 off, so I had booked that one as an off week. Sorry.
Well, I can't believe it's been 33 episodes already. I mean, what are we going to plan out something exciting for the 50th?
I don't know. We should think about something special for that. But the thing for me is literally we're about a month away from having done this for a whole year, because we did start it 2 weeks before Comic Art Live last year. So I think it was around the 15th of May or so that we had our first episode. So I think just having done this for 1 year and been able to maintain our sanity and our momentum and still do stuff on here is, it's solid. I mean, most people would have fallen apart, a couple weeks into it, but we've been able to keep this thing rolling and put
the three of you guys all look a year younger too. So I don't know how that works.
All of us.
Just
the magic of makeup.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what I'm missing. The makeup.
Right. Yeah, I got a fluffer that kind of takes care of me before I come out every episode.
Oh, nice.
And a powder girl.
Well, Glenn, these guys are cosplaying, so we that's sort of making them younger.
Right. I saw a nice cosplay version of the two of you at a bar in Ohio earlier today.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't think Mike saw that. Yeah, I posted that as a picture on Facebook, Mike. You and I behind the bar.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the image prep, but anybody who's friends with me or follows me on Facebook would have seen that image. And
if it's in tomorrow's show, people are in for a real treat.
Oh my God, you guys are gonna die. We were in tears. I can't wait to do the outtake reel from last night. We let the camera roll for like 30 minutes, and it's a laugh a minute for the whole thing. We were dying. Absolutely.
And the
dying.
irony is, Berkey is not a drinker, sitting proudly in front of the bar. That's the irony.
Yeah, I know. I spent all this money to create a bar that I never used. So,
well, it doesn't seem like you were there. I think it was like the Hulk version of you is serving the drinks.
Oh yes,
Hulk served drink.
Oh yeah.
Don't encourage him, Glenn. Come on.
All right. We're as witty as we are at the moment. We're keeping our very charming guest waiting, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So let me bring in our guest for the evening, collector David Bixler. How are you doing this evening, David?
Hey.
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Good. That looks like one heck of a bat cave there.
You know what that is? That's DC's version of the Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we're going full screen just so we can show this thing off.
I'll sit up for you.
Wow, look at that. You even got the Hulk there to your right. You're right. I'm so proud of you.
Cersei,
That's Killer Croc, Mike. It's Killer Croc.
There's no
nice
Hulk in that room.
I'm just teasing with you. That's an awesome image of him.
One of these days, he's going to read a DC comic, David. One of these days, Berkey will read a DC comic.
Spider-Man's in the DC universe, right?
Yeah, I did read The Death of Superman. So,
did Ramita draw that one or no?
Junior, no, he was a little late on the punch. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you read any other comics other than what Ramita had had done. So
It's all good.
All right, David. So you've been a collector for quite a while, and you've probably bought art from all three of these gentlemen, I imagine, right? At some point in time in the past.
Actually.
Oh yeah,
I absolutely have.
All right. Well, because I know that we've never met at a show, and you were mentioning earlier, like you've done a lot of deals with Glenn, but had never met in person. So, so for me, we always start off with the origin story kind of stuff. So I'm kind of curious how long you've been collecting, because I believe it's a bit longer than you've had a CAF gallery.
Yes, quite a bit actually. So it goes back probably early 2000s. And ironically enough, I didn't start with original art. I started with statues, which is I've graduated to kind of higher end statues with some of the prime ones behind me. But I started with kind of like much smaller ones and different things like that, and and then started getting into posters and limited prints and things like that. And then as things kind of progressed, I started getting into remarks were kind of cool, so I can get a little bit of original art on a print. They're not too expensive. And then I discovered animation cells, and those are hand drawn, especially if you get one with an original background. So that's kind of cool. And then it just continued to progress where maybe I can get a commission from somebody, and I can get an interior page, and I really like covers, so let me go down that path, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So it's been kind of a gradual path, and at this point it's rare for me to buy any sort of print or anything along those lines. I've definitely graduated to kind of higher end statues as well, and I do buy a lot of kind of more custom runs of statues too. And then when it comes to art, I primarily focus on cover art, some animated cells from Batman the Animated Series. I like original art for posters, anything that can kind of be considered cover like, I guess. And if you haven't figured out 100% Batman, I don't collect anything else.
So when did you buy your first piece of artwork? Like what year? And then when did you graduate to covers from there? Like how long did it take you to go from the panel page to the cover purchase?
Oh man, let's see.
I mean, you can estimate. I'm not gonna. If you're a few days off, I won't hold it against you.
There's no quiz at the end.
I think so. My first art that probably had anything original on it would have been some remark stuff. I have some Bob Kane remarked art limited prints that I bought back in probably 2007, 2008. Is probably when I would have first started. And then it slowly built from there. My first kind of set of interior pages when I started getting into more actual comic art was probably 2012, 13 timeframe. And then it wasn't long after that before I discovered covers and started going on that train.
Okay. All right.
What a train it is.
It was a quick progression. It wasn't a slow, you kind of worked your way into it. You just saw it and that's the direction you went.
Yeah, well, I like striking images, and as much as interior pages have cool art, unless you get a really cool splash or something, they tend to be very busy and very segmented, and that's not really what I'm looking for. I really like to have the bigger, bolder image. And the nice thing about a cover, besides other than a splash, is that the cover art is also what you see when you buy the book first. So it kind of has a nice double whammy of it being a really nice big image. And also something that I can display really easily.
Right.
And because you've collected Batman, I mean, I know this about you. Because you've collected Batman, you've sort of had to focus in a little more over the years, right? Because originally you were sort of most Batman titles were of interest, but as time went on, you're looking at main titles like Batman and Detective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It used to be anything that had Batman, I would be interested in. So that would be obviously the main titles, the Justice League, could be Action Comics, it could be any of a number of spin-offs, or it could even be guest appearances. And, it became very obvious to me very quickly that it's really difficult to collect a whole bunch of disparate things and, be able to stay on top of it at all. And so I got to a place really quickly where I started to really narrow my scope. And so from a cover standpoint, it's going to be mostly the first party Batman, Detective, the Legends of the Dark Knight, which has had a few different iterations now. And then occasionally I will jump on a mini series here or there if I really like the art for it. And I will also occasionally do a one-off, like as an example, and it's not a piece of art that I shared with Bill ahead of this, but I have the original cover art for The Only Damage, which is basically DC's version of the Hulk, since Berkey mentioned the Hulk earlier. It's really the only issue of Damage that had Batman on the cover, and I liked it so much because it actually had Damage destroying the Batmobile with Batman in it. And I was like, well, that's not an image you're going to see very often. And I like Aaron Lopresti, who is the cover artist for that, and I bought it from him at a show, actually, Rose City Comic Con a few years ago.
Nice.
So did you start off collecting more modern pieces and then sort of work your way back into more vintage, or what has your focus been?
That's a good question. Before I got into covers, when I was collecting more interiors and splashes, I did actually focus a little bit more on older stuff. Now, older stuff for me was more like, maybe late 70s and 80s. So like I was a big fan of Don Newton. I had a ton of Don Newton stuff, which will know because Will ended up getting a bunch of it from me. But definitely I loved his artwork, and he did some just absolutely incredible splashes and some great interior pages for that matter as well. But when I started getting into covers, it was almost kind of accidental, honestly, because I didn't really know how you would get covers at first. It used to be, for me, I would only look on eBay and other places back in the old days when I didn't know any better. And although you still can find a cover here or there on eBay, it's obviously not the best place to go find cover art. And so when I started discovering them, it was when I first started going to conventions and meeting artists in person, and the stuff that they had at cons, for the most part, is going to be stuff that they've worked on recently. So when I first started buying covers at conventions, I was buying stuff that was no more than a few years old. And then I started meeting dealers, like I've met Mike, met Will. Haven't met Glenn in person. This is actually the first time I'm getting to meet him, kind of in a virtual way, outside of email. But I started realizing, hey, there are folks like all of you out there who also sell stuff. Some of which I've met at cons, other that I've met just virtually over email or whatnot, and just found many other ways to start buying stuff. And then I discovered CAF and realized that there are people here who sell stuff too, or trade stuff. And so it just completely opened up my whole world. And so I went from only having a handful of covers here or there, like almost like really recent stuff, to realizing that I could actually buy stuff that was old, or trade for stuff that was older. And that was kind of the progression that I made.
So David, we met like last year. You contacted me because I represent Hugh Fleming and had some Batman paintings that you were interested in, I recall. And it was fun because I remember you were like, well, like, what if we made a deal for like, I think it was like 4 of them that you wound up being interested in, but like one was missing. Like one hadn't he hadn't given me one of them to display, and you were like, like I'm looking at the run here and I see there's like he has another painting. Like, can you contact him and find out if he has the 5th painting? Because you were like, I really don't want to buy the 4 paintings unless I get the entire, the entire 5 runs from that, the entire 5 paintings from that run that he did. So I contacted him, and he actually hadn't given me that painting, and it wasn't like, I don't know why he didn't give it to me in the first place, but I guess it was an oversight or whatever. So you wound up getting the whole set.
Negotiation.
Yeah, and what was interesting too about that specific scenario is, I always found this interesting, is that the one he didn't give you was also the only cover from that run that didn't actually feature Batman on the cover, which
right.
I thought was kind of interesting.
Right. Well, maybe it felt like it wouldn't sell because it didn't have Batman on it or something, and But you were like, I gotta have if it's possible to get the whole set, I want the whole set. So
I actually got to step in and correct you guys. You two have actually met in person. New York Comic Con 2019, I think. Were you out in 2019 or 2018, David?
2019.
2019. So, Glenn, we were sharing a booth, and I was going down the artist alley, and I said, hey, you want to come? And you walked down with me, and we
Oh,
went.
that's right. Yeah, we did, David. I remember meeting you. We were picking up some stuff from Fred Chamberlain, and you came over and started chatting with Will.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Holy cow! Yes. Now that I'm thinking back to it, yes, I never connected the two until
I didn't put it together either. But yeah, we I think we shook hands and said hi and everything. So
it's a small world.
How crazy is that? Cool, good stuff.
Small world.
All right. Well, now I feel better about doing this. Now I feel like I know you a little bit.
Oh, Fred chimed in 2019.
Yep. Fred is actually in the audience. So.
There he is.
One quick sidebar I wanted to add to Glenn's story is one thing I do when I frame stuff, and I have not framed that set yet, although I plan on doing it. But one thing I like to do is I like to get the comics for it graded, and if I can, I like to get them signed and then CGC graded, and I frame them together because I just think they look really cool. And so I had actually, had coordinated with Glenn, and Glenn didn't have the ability to help me with CGC, but I have another guy, Daniel Scott. You may know him. He worked with Scott's Collectibles, and he was willing to kind of help me facilitate the whole signing thing. And I was actually able to send everything to Hugh and have him sign everything, and then Dan helped me get it all graded. But the reason I called that out is the one painting that didn't have Batman on it. I actually had Hugh remark the comic book for me with the Batman head. So my CGC graded one does actually have Batman on it.
All right. So you've corrected that publishing oversight.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you added your own editorial touch to it.
You're a Batman after Berkey's heart. He would have had Spider-Man put on, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
This probably doesn't matter, but for CG, when you see CGC them, don't they have to physically verify? So I guess they're not verified, right? They're just CGC with his signature.
So in this case, since Dan is actually a facilitator, he can get a creator's form from the artist, and he can essentially facilitate it as if he did witness it. And since Hugh shipped it directly to him, it's all legit.
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, seems like in this day and age, we could virtually watch. They could virtually watch him.
Yeah, I guess you could. Yeah,
that's true. Actually,
Zoom or something. Yeah, or SteamYard. Don't want to advertise the competition.
Well, I think CGC's been doing that. With those special signature signings and stuff that they've done. They've been broadcasting some of those live. So just so the fans who've already pre-bought whatever they're getting remarked or signed can actually watch it. So yeah, I mean that's the world we live in today with COVID. So that's cool.
Right.
This is true. So why Batman? What started you on Batman?
It's funny. I get asked that question a lot. Even at work and other places, it's kind of funny. I think multiple reasons. One, Batman isn't officially a superhero. He's actually just a human like any of us who is incredibly smart, happens to have an insane amount of money, but then is able to also go through a lot of amazing physical training and use his brawn as well as his brain to just really do amazing things. And so it's kind of like, Batman is actually somebody that, especially as a kid, you could actually almost aspire to say, hey, I could actually be Batman. I couldn't be Superman. I can't be Spider-Man. I can't be, any of a number of, superheroes because, well, that's not actually real, right? It's all fun, but it's still comics. But Batman actually could happen. And so I think as a kid, it was really kind of fun.
If you want to be Batman, we actually have to murder your parents, and you have to watch them die in a dark alley when you're a child. So it seems like
and
that trade-off.
That's the one. That's definitely the drawback. There's no question about it. But and then Batman's costume is just awesome. Well, let's just be honest. He just looks cool. And when you start, especially when you start looking at how
Batman costume, what's your favorite era of that? That I'm curious about.
Oh man, that's a hard one actually, because there have been so many good ones, and I love so many of the different takes. It's probably cliche, but I love Neil Adams' Batman. Always have. It's just so classic. Aparo's got a great Batman, really striking. If I were to kind of like jump to really modern, as will know, I'm absolutely in love with how Eddy Barrows draws Batman. I think he just is absolutely spot on and doesn't necessarily get the recognition that he deserves a lot of the time. I think he's one of the best Batman artists out there, quite frankly. I think who else would I? I mean, there's so many that I like. I mean, those would be probably the first three that would come to mind just from an image standpoint. Like if I'm looking at other moderns, I love Jason Fabok's Batman. I think he does an amazing job. It's just very striking, and especially since he does a lot of the full bleed in his artwork, it just looks really cool. David Finch is fabulous. Always love his stuff. Andy Kubert does a great Batman. I mean, there are lots of great Batmans, and I think the nice thing about Batman is a lot of amazing artists have been able to kind of give their own take on him. And even though so many of them, if you put them all side by side, it's very clear that the art is different, that the look is different. They're still all absolutely Batman, and that's just one thing that I really like about it.
But do you like the gray tights or the tactical black better? Which is?
Man,
I'm putting a fine point on you here.
Yeah, you absolutely are. I actually tend to like the more tactical look, honestly. I don't know. It's just more of like I'm gonna really go like take care of business Batman. Just something about that more brooding look I tend to like.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Oh, go ahead, Will.
No, I was just gonna say I agree. I actually like the Rebirth version where it's more like gray, drab, almost Dark Knight-ish, but has a tactical, aspect to it as well. So it's sort of like a blend of both.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, and Comic T post on there. I was with all the Batman stuff. Just what's your favorite movie? Since there's been so many different variations. And who is your favorite Batman actor? From Adam West up.
Yep. So my favorite movie is it's a tie between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I don't know, most people will say The Dark Knight is maybe the best Batman movie made, at least from a live action standpoint. I'm going to leave animated stuff out for right now because Batman Mask of the Phantasm is pretty fabulous, but not a live action movie, so I won't go there right now. And I love Christian Bale. I thought he really threw himself into the role and was really, really good. And I love Christopher Nolan's direction in the movie. With that said, like the '89 Batman movie directed by Tim Burton with Keaton and Nicholson as a Joker is a movie that, even though it's definitely campy and you can see some of the age in it now, still a movie that I can rewatch over and over and over again. Just absolutely love it.
I love that movie too.
And then I'd be lying if I said I actually still enjoy like going back and watching Adam West and Burt Ward and Cesar Romero and Burgess Meredith and all those folks in the '66 Batman series, as well as the ridiculous movie with with all four villains in it. They're just a lot of fun. Sure, it's campy, but it was fun campy. Unlike Batman and Robin with George Clooney in it, which was not fun campy.
Right.
Neon.
Since watching that movie, I always carry shark repellent with me everywhere.
I said the rubber shark and the bat shark repellent in the ocean is the greatest scene ever. Where he's batting on, it has Batman's leg for like 5 minutes. And he's hitting it.
Yeah, definitely awesome. Suspension of disbelief, right? Like the one thing I've always wondered is, like, how in the world did he still have his leg? Man, Batman must be buff.
I know. And just real quick, one of my favorite of the Adam West shows, I'll never forget, just the one where Mr. Freeze freezes him and they show this really cool glowing, like Robin and Batman are frozen. And Mr. Freeze comes up to him. And all of a sudden, Batman punches him and he goes, "How? I had you frozen. How?" And Batman goes, "I took the precaution of wearing my bat thermal underwear."
Oh, yeah.
Bat thermal underwear.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah. Once Spielberg came out with Jaws and that whole thing, and everybody I was like hoping for like a Jaws Batman crossover. I thought like that would have been That would have been an exciting comic book.
Well, they had the Batman versus Predator, which was sort of cool back in the time. I thought that was a good.
Yeah, but Jaws would be fun.
But Jaws, yeah, it'd be tough. The Bat boat and the Jaws, huh?
We're getting way off the track scene.
Yes, we are.
We're gonna need a bigger bat boat.
Yeah.
Someone did mention that you didn't mention Frank Miller when you were mentioning artists and periods and things. So, any bias there, or just an omission?
I mean, it would probably be an unpopular, stance, but I'm not a big fan of Frank Miller's art. I never have been. And he definitely revolutionized a lot of the Batman mythos, and is hugely important to kind of like a lot of what has come out. But I don't actually own a piece of Frank Miller art, and I don't. Yeah, not my favorite artist.
Yeah. Well, I think he doesn't get enough credit as being a writer, and I think his writing, was even better than his art on Batman. So.
Yeah, I've always thought of him more as a storyteller than anything.
Yeah.
Sort of the complete package of it's, the art is not always like the most amazing art, but the storytelling is like, wow.
Well, I gotta digress here with
100%.
you guys, because I honestly think that like his Sin City stuff was like revolutionary. The way that he sort of like minimalized drawing and just could give you expression with silhouette, and I don't know. I mean his art blows me away. I think that there are like people in fine art circles that point to Frank Miller as revolutionary. So
yeah.
I think of him as like not just a fabulous artist, but a great writer and a great storyteller.
Yeah, there's no denying his importance. I'm just saying, to me personally, I've always thought of the whole package, the whole storytelling. I think the storytelling is set a whole new bar. You know? So, and obviously, me and Mike are speaking sacrilege. I'm reading the comments here.
Right.
I do actually own a piece of Frank Miller art, and I actually like his period on Marvel before Daredevil. So that's me personally, and his style wasn't as.
You don't mean before Daredevil, do you? You mean like during Daredevil? Because before Daredevil, like Daredevil was like sort of the first thing that he did, except for those Marvel team up 2 issues.
Well, no, he did a handful of covers. He did a handful of covers.
Yeah, he did some Spidey covers.
Yeah. He did a few different types.
I thought he did those. I thought he did those like during his like Daredevil tenure, not actually before. It was actually
a little bit. I think it was a little bit before.
Yeah.
Maybe in the early part.
Okay.
But that's just me personally. So.
Right.
But no denying, one of the most influential, one of the most talented overall. There's no denying that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, his Sin City art really, really appeals to me. Like when he took that jump in style, and then it changed again a little bit, with 300 but that stuff really appeals to me too, just in a different way. I mean, obviously not in an illustrative way. He's not Jim Lee. That's like a very different. Those are like polar opposites of the spectrum, but. But
obviously, the storytelling translated to at least 3 or 4 movies. Whether you're looking at Sin City or 300. So
2 Sin City movies and 2 300 movies. So yeah.
So it translates, obviously. So.
All right. That was a interesting take on it, though. But I would actually have to agree that I was never a huge fan of his artwork in Dark Knight. I mean, I love the story, and I loved his work in Daredevil probably a lot more, and I loved his work in Sin City even more. But I was never a huge fan of the artwork in that book. I don't know why, and I always felt it was partially the format change and that kind of thing. I just never, it didn't visually, it didn't work for me. But everything he did before and after that was absolutely amazing to me.
Well, I think that book itself was not exactly like the way that he wanted it to come out. I mean, I think that he and Klaus Janson argued a lot about the way that like Klaus was inking him, and there were certain pages that he wanted to like just go redo and ink himself because he felt like Klaus wasn't like following his lead exactly the way that he wanted him to. So
yes, and we're leaving David in all by himself over there.
Sorry, David, we're getting off track here. If this is your show, it's about you.
We're ready to take a look at some great. We're ready to take a look at some great art of his.
I actually have a piece of trivia for David that I completely stumbled across today. So if you're ready, Rupert Thorne.
All right, I am.
Rupert Thorne, right? Early '70s Batman villain, I think. It's when he was,
and also a mainstay in Batman the Animated Series.
Yes. Do you know who was the real life inspiration for Rupert Thorne?
Ooh. I actually do not know. I do not know the answer to that question.
Well, he was huge at the time when Rupert Thorne was created. He was on a little show called All in the Family. Carol O'Connor.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Just a little tidbit I stumbled across. Didn't know if you might, yeah.
All right, now let's start arguing about the merits of All in the Family.
Now, Rupert Thorne, is he called Rupert Thorne in the comics, or is he a villain?
Oh yeah, no, he's like a gangster. He's like one of the head, gangster mafia bosses in Gotham.
Yeah, he's one of the big guys. One of the main groups.
Kind of like I'll put it in your terms, like the Kingpin.
I said he would be equivalent to the Kingpin. Is he a big guy too, or no?
He's not
as big as Kingpin.
Oh, he's a squirrely guy. So he'd be like the Rose.
Yeah. Everything goes back to Spider-Man for you. Mike.
Yeah.
So, David, did you bring some art along for us to look at? Are we looking at some of his collection tonight?
Yes, we are. We are. We might as well start with let's see. We'll start off with the first piece in the list that he gave me.
Oh man, I love that cover. You got that off eBay.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, I'm actually not seeing it on my stream. I'm not sure what's going on there.
It's that Colan cover with the knife and
Batman hung up.
Oh yes, the Detective 528. Yes, that's actually one of my favorite covers. Period.
I think I might have been the underbidder on eBay on that one.
You drove him up, Glenn. You drove him up.
No, he beat me out.
But you drove him up.
But he beat me out.
But yeah, that's a cover I've had for a little while now, and it's probably the one I get the most requests for on CAF for, hey, are you willing to sell this? Are you willing to trade it? Like I've lost track of how many emails I've gotten already, from people, and I'll even have the same person many times. I'll wait a few months and they'll ping me on it again. And it's obvious, it's understandable why. It's such a great cover. In fact, I have it framed in the room I'm in. It's over that way. And I have it framed with a 9.8, unsigned CGC, graded book. And it looks awesome. It's definitely just, to me, it's one of the better, if not, it's definitely one of my favorite Colan covers from Batman or Detective at all. It's just, everything about it is just really striking. The reflection in the knife, the dagger is just like, it's really creepy and spooky. It's, like I said, very Colan-esque. Really, really great cover.
No, it's fantastic Colan cover. So listen, David, if you want to sell it, let me know, okay?
You wouldn't be the first person who said that to me.
just send him an email through CAF. All
right, I'll send you, like, once a month. I'll send you an email.
So I was curious, Dave. So that image never showed up on your phone at all?
No. So I'm almost wondering if it would make sense for me to leave and jump back in just to reset it. I don't know if that would help.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it must be something on the phone for some reason. I can't imagine why it would block the image because I've never heard that before. So
your guys' videos are frozen for me too, so that might be part of the problem.
Okay, well, why don't you hop out and then hop back in, and we'll talk about Frank Miller while you're gone.
We'll show his next piece, and he can discuss after.
So Frank Miller is reductive, and and you know exactly what's going on in the story. guys don't understand.
Yeah, you got to give the guy credit because he did draw Spider-Man. You know, I mean, he did Spider-Man covers early in his career. You got to give him credit.
That's probably what made his career right there, Mike.
I mean, Spider-Man 14 and 15. I mean, those are classics. Spec 27, 28. Those are classics. Marvel Team Up 100 cover he did. I mean, you know, they thought enough of him to give him Spider-Man at some point. So that's sort of important.
He's done Spider-Man. He's done Marvel Team Up. He's done Captain America. He's done Marvel Spotlight. I mean,
we're gonna shuffle things around here.
And now I can see everybody. So much better.
Okay, good.
Good.
All right, good. And all right, well, why don't we try the second image, and you let me know if it shows up for you.
I got a quick question. Was the Colan detective cover? Is that one you bought off the newsstand? Were you a comic collector back in the day?
Yes, and it's definitely one that I liked. Absolutely.
Cool.
Very good.
And I have to say, so none of us forget, I would like to see one of these frame jobs that you've got with the CGC comic and the art, because I know that you didn't send any photographs of something like that.
I'll try something dangerous, and I'll actually try to show you. I mean,
okay.
Walk over here.
Yeah,
he had to get off.
Go full screen here. Hang on. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Cool. Look at that.
Nice.
That is sweet.
So it's like a shadow box.
How much for that CGC copy?
Say that again.
How much just for the CGC copy?
Those are cheap. that one wasn't that much. But yeah, that I have a framer that I use for pretty much everything. He's based in California. Ruben Brenes. I'll give a call out to him. I don't know. He does a ton of the framing for Sideshow, and he does amazing stuff. So I get him to pretty much do all of my framing. And so he's done a bunch of these where he has the cover and then the CGC graded comic, and he does it in the shadow box with the multiple mats. And they just look amazing. Like they look museum quality. So I have quite a few that are framed that way already.
So is it typical where you've done it horizontally with the art above the comic? Because I was really vertically, because I was thinking it was going to be horizontal, because in almost every frame job where somebody puts the printed page or maybe the color guide with the art, you always see them side by side. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and what's funny is I actually debated how I wanted to have that done, and he and I even had a conversation about the pros and cons of doing it either way. And I decided more on the vertical rather than the horizontal. Primarily because it actually saved me on space. I would have a lot more wasted space doing it horizontally rather than vertically, because of the dimensions of the book. And I actually think it looks really slick. Now, with that said, I do have I have another piece. Actually, it's another piece that I shared with you, the Batman 45 by Tony Daniel, where I have the prelim and the cover and the comic. And that one I've done horizontally. And when we get to that piece, I can actually show you that one too if you want to see it.
Yeah, definitely. Because that was not what I was expecting at all. So that was pretty cool. I've never seen that before.
They frame them in the Smithsonian, Bill. If you've ever been to the Smithsonian, that's
I've actually not.
David knows what he's doing.
All right. Well, I don't know my horizontal from my vertical at the moment. All right. Let's go on to the second artwork here.
No, that's actually the Batman 45. Yeah.
All right, great.
So yeah, it's one of my favorite of the modern Tony Daniel covers. Like Tony's done a ton of covers, as we all know. Not just Batman, although I think he's probably most well known for Batman. And definitely has a very definitive look that is Tony Daniel. I also know Tony Daniel pretty well. We text pretty regularly. Great, really nice guy, and just somebody I enjoy talking to anyway. But this piece in particular was one that I remember when I saw it just really caught my eye, and the picture doesn't even do it justice. Like in person, it's so striking. Batman clearly is very, very angry, really ready to regulate in this picture, and it just
somebody like insulted his parents or something. Like he's like
exactly, and his the shading techniques and everything that Tony used in this one in particular, because he did all the inking on this one as well, is just fabulous.
Yeah, you very rarely see like his brow like that, you know, like with the. I mean, that's like an interesting interesting anger choice.
That is a great image of Batman. Totally.
See,
And so
I
let
was
me
gonna
show
say,
you this one as well. Here's the. Can you see the whole thing there?
Hang on, I'm gonna make you go full screen here. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
so there's the. Yeah, so I got the prelim, which is little bitty actually, and then the cover, and then the graded comic that's signed by Tony. And actually, I believe is it signed by anybody else? No, actually, this one is just signed by Tony. So this one I did do horizontal because of the
Right.
three, and it just made a lot more sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow,
So
the
it's like
the prelim is
prelim,
smaller than the
prelim
comic.
to production to printed copy. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, no, and I love seeing the production process. So I love having the prelims. I'm also a big fan of color guides, and I do have a number of color guides for things as well. Unfortunately, I don't know that I have too many color guides where I also have the original cover art. But again, I just kind of love that that progression. It's really neat to see the production process.
That was really cool.
That was really
You are
great,
not
David.
Batman.
David, that was really great.
Yeah, George Clooney is out by the.
We lost Mike, and we have somebody
David,
else here.
I had to come back and just say that was a great Tony Daniel cover. I just had to come back and say that was a great cover. Yeah. I had to take that Spider-Man guy out of the way. Yeah.
Batman needs a shave.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. All right.
He needs to get a little taller too, honestly.
That was a great cover, David. Great cover.
All right. Thank you, Batman. You can send Mike back in as soon as he's available.
Yeah, if you see Mike, let him know we're looking
off
for him.
screen, he'll be back.
All right. Let's look at some more art.
Please. Please.
Oh, again! That looks like the last cover.
So
Okay.
So this one is Batman 371, and what's interesting about this one is the reason I originally went after this cover is because I owned about half of the interiors to it, which was done by Don Newton. There's some absolutely incredible interior art in this one, and Will actually I think ended up with most of it. So. So he'll attest to how good a lot of the interior art is on this.
Good looking.
But it's
stuff.
actually it's a great story though, and Catman's a really cool character, and I always thought this cover was kind of cool. I love the reflection of Batman and Robin in the eyes of Catman, kind of like the slash through of Batman with the cat on there. It's just like it's just kind of a cool cover. It's a little bit different, and looks pretty great framed actually. That's another one I have framed.
I really like this cover a lot, actually. I mean,
And what's nice is the reflection of Batman and Robin in his eyes are original, as well as the word cat through the logo.
Oh, cool.
That almost looks like an Amazing Spider-Man 55 cover recreation.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
With Doc Ock and Spider-Man in his eyes,
Mike, think Batman right now.
Oh, okay, it just reminds me of Spidey 55. That's a homage.
Maybe.
And somebody else wanted to see.
Cover. That's a great cover.
Somebody in the comments wanted to see your man cave a little bit better, your bat cave a little better.
Yeah.
Let me move so you can kind of see everything. So, for those of you who may not have heard, or maybe I didn't say it earlier in the show, these are a bunch of the Prime One Studio Arkham Batman series statues. It's not all of them. I have a clear space here so I could actually sit down. I'm still kind of working on it. This platform right here is actually where the Batmobile is going to go. I just haven't built it yet. So it's been a fun work in progress.
Wow. Are those displayed throughout the house, or do they stay in that room?
No, they just stay in this room. So this room it's 100% Batman, and it's got a lot of statues and art in it, but it's all up here.
Nice.
And
It's not like your house, Mike, where the toys are allowed to roam around freely.
Yeah. No, that looks like a tight, small bat cave there.
I think there's more in the room.
Right, when he Yes, when you walked around the room, you could see it was much bigger than
There's a
that.
lot more to the room. I think that's just the bat throne.
Right. The bathroom.
No, that's not what he said.
That's the bathroom, and you're sitting on the toilet. What?
Oh boy, Mike. All right, Mike's going on to some more artwork. I'm sure
More art.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so this is Detective 1011 by Guillaume March, and actually I picked this up. I actually picked this up from him at New York Comic Con a couple years ago, and it's actually definitely one of my favorite covers by him. And he's definitely done a lot of stuff recently for both Batman and Detective, and his stuff can be. I find it to be hit or miss at times. There's some covers by him I love, others I don't like as much. But this one I really love with Deadshot in the background, and just kind of the dynamics in the cover.
No, you're right. That's a go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say I like that it's drawn all the way to the top. So I like when they do that. They do that more and more now, the drawing all the way to the top without leaving a blank space for logo. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to agree with you, David, that with Guillaume March. I mean, the guy is very talented, but I agree with you that some of the covers are definitely, better than others as far as, striking me as a collector. And I was reading this stuff just like you were. This is all part of the rebirth of Detective and DC. So
very beautiful.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
It is.
I agree.
Oh, let's see. This is a fun story behind this one. So, and of course now I'm Brian Stelfreeze. I was blanking out for a second. So this is Brian Stelfreeze. This is Detective 997 variant cover, and the interesting thing here is Brian Stelfreeze did a ton of stuff for DC and did a bunch of Batman stuff. He did Detective, Batman, Shadow the Bat, back in the 90s, and then in 2000s, and then he kind of dropped off and didn't do anything for a while. And I met him for the first time at Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina, a few years ago, and I actually asked him, I was like, oh hey, why didn't you what happened? Why didn't you do Batman for a while? And apparently what he said, he didn't go to a lot of detail, but apparently he kind of had a bit of a falling out with DC as far as the creative direction and not being able to do what he wanted to do, and so he kind of stepped away from it. And of course, he's really well known for Black Panther, and does amazing work with the Black Panther comics. So definitely back in Berkey's Marvel realm over there. But right as we were getting close to Detective 1000. DC apparently reached out to Brian and said, well, hey, I don't remember which editor it was. It was somebody that Brian knew and had reached out to him and said, hey, we'd love for you to do some variant covers. And Brian had some very clear stipulations that he wanted to make sure that he had full creative license, that it wouldn't get changed or anything like that. And they assured him of that. So he agreed to do 2 covers. But the interesting thing about this one is that this is the only one that he did on physical media. Brian does the majority of his stuff these days digitally, which is becoming the trend with a lot of artists. And the other variant that he did was done digitally, but this one was a hand done painting. So I was pretty excited to be able to get it.
It's nice.
I like this stuff a lot, and this is actually a really interesting painting with the the yellow between them highlighting everything. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
he's really known for his contrast and his shading and everything. It was really, really he really brings a lot of contrast out in any of the art that he does.
That was what I was going to say. He's one of the most talented painters out there, as far as I'm concerned, and it's too bad he's doing a lot of work digitally now.
Yeah,
and it's funny because I think he's really a great artist. He's done a number of fantastic things, but his name isn't talked about as much as it should be. I think he's definitely underrated, but
I agree. And you wonder why. Somebody had mentioned they thought Mitch repped him. I don't remember Mitch ever repping Stelfreeze. I always thought he was kind of more independent.
I think he did in the 90s.
Oh, did he in the 90s? Okay, because obviously that's I started collecting in the late '90s, so I guess I would have missed that. But you wonder if somebody was like promoting his stuff better. Like if he had a rep, you never know, right? I mean, because he's a guy who should be doing a lot. He should be doing cover work all the time. He's fantastic.
Absolutely, he is. Yeah, and it's not like he's going to drop off in his art either. I mean, it looks fantastic.
His stuff never used to sell for a ton. I mean, like a lot of the guys. But I'll tell you what. Now a lot of his commissions go for big money. Just regular pinups go for $3, $4, $5 of just stuff, just girls. I mean, it's stuff not even published. Goes for more than his published work now.
He's definitely picked up momentum over the years. I think he's actually improved. He's always been talented, but I think he's actually improved. I had a triple, I think it was Shadow of the Bat cover many years ago. It was a consignment piece, and I had difficulty moving it. Not so much because of Still Freeze not being desirable artists, but I think because of the sheer size. It was a huge piece.
Right.
So that, sometimes that kind of works against it. But it wasn't terribly expensive. I almost just bought it myself to put it away. It felt so cheap at the time. But it's definitely, his value has come up quite a bit in the world.
His stuff has gone up significantly.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. The Detective 987 variant by Mark Brooks. Definitely just an amazing cover. I met Mark for the first time.
It's like a movie poster.
It does.
Yeah, no, in person, it really does look that way. And I love just the towering Batman with the kind of like the sun behind him, and then like the mini scene of Batman on the car. And actually, a kind of a funny side story for that. When I met Mark for the first time, this was also at Rose City Comic Con a few years ago. Actually, my son was with me for this as well. He was telling us about how his son plays. I don't remember if it was Forza or it was one of those car racing video games. And he actually watched his son play the game to get the inspiration for how to draw these cars. So I thought that was pretty cool. Kind of a pretty cool kind of anecdote.
Hey David, wouldn't you agree with Mark the covers Mark did on Detective, where he did the schematics of some of the Batmobiles and machines, and I mean I think those are some of the most striking covers he's done. They're just amazing.
Oh, they're and unfortunately, I don't own any of them. Apparently there's one collector ended up getting almost all of them. Ended up buying them in kind of one fell swoop.
And no, he did. But I'm just saying, his image. I looked for them as well. I mean, I was buying some of those covers, and I mean, they were going very quickly. But I'm just saying, as a piece of art, they were all amazing.
They're incredible. Yeah, no, and it was so different too. Which was what's so cool about it is you hadn't really seen anything quite like that before, and Mark's painting style is just incredible. It's if you ever get the chance, I'm sure all of you have, but for maybe everybody watching, if you've never had the chance to watch Mark Brooks paint in person, which he does all the time at conventions, he's so exquisite, and his attention to detail is amazing, but the stuff he cranks out is just mind blowing to me. I just absolutely love his style.
Carlos asked, what size was this painting, roughly?
Oh man. See, I'm looking at it over here. It's also framed with a CGC thing. What is it? I want to say it's like a 24 by 16. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's a 24 by 16.
Wow,
that's big.
Yeah,
is it on it's on canvas, or is it on paper, or what's
it's on a heavy artboard that's then mounted to something that's more rigid. I forget exactly which kind it is, but it's the type of Mark uses pretty much the same type of heavy art paper for almost everything these days. Actually, ironically enough, on my CAF Gallery page, I think I say what the medium is. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is.
Everybody who's in his gallery now can check.
There's actually an old Detective cover, and I can't recall the issue number. I'm pretty sure it's Detective, but there is a might be a Sprang cover or something, but it's a schematic of the Batmobile, and I thought Mark was sort of paying homage to that, perhaps. But I mean, he took it to a whole different level with the paintings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
Oh yes, so this is Detective 1001. So after the landmark 1000 issue, Brad Walker and Andrew Hennessy got to do basically 5 issues in a row. And this is actually one of the runs where I own all 5 covers. So I've shown the first one here because I love how striking it is, like the really massive Arkham Knight. Which is really the first time Arkham Knight officially showed up in the main continuity. I actually do have, I don't know if you can see him, but I do have Arkham Knight from the video game statue behind me, kind of towering over me over to the right. And if you see him over here, but it was I thought it was really cool that they brought Arkham Knight into the detective continuity because he's a really great villain. And those 5 books were really well done. The artwork of both Brad Walker and Andrew Hennessy are great artists. And I love all the art that they did in those books. And I felt really privileged to be able to get retain all 5 covers. I just think they're fabulous. So I showed the first one here. Anybody who visits my gallery can see all 5 of them. I just decided to pick the first one because I just thought it was the one that kind of started the arc.
It's a good choice.
Very cool.
And the question was answered by George Hayes. He says it's done on 16 by 24 arches, hot press, smooth watercolor paper mounted on illustration board. Thank you, George.
I was right about the 16 by 24. I didn't remember the rest of it. So thanks, George.
Oh man.
All right, so this.
Wow.
This one is actually this is one of my times where I do depart from the kind of like the main Batman or detective. This was from Arkham Manor, which was a 6-issue miniseries illustrated by Sean Crystal, who I met at Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle several years ago, and I remember just seeing this cover in person and being blown away by it because it's so different, and I had to get it. I actually own 4 of the 6 covers that Sean did. I believe the other 2 are owned by another collector, or by the same collector on CAF. And if he's watching or listening, I would be interested in getting them from you at some point in the future if you're ever interested in letting them go. Because I'd love to be able to frame all 6 together. I think it would look killer. But this was by far my favorite of the 6 that Sean did, just because I just thought it was again, it's very striking. It's kind of like Batman's angry, but like Wayne Manor is kind of exploding while he's like blowing out fire and smoke. It's very ethereal and very surreal, and just like the whole if you haven't read Arkham Manor, it's very surreal. There's just a lot of just like weird stuff that's going on throughout the entire miniseries. And so like to me, this was a really good depiction of like the tone and feel of the series.
This is why you never want to let Batman miss a meal.
There you go.
And it's very important, as somebody noted, we have a lot of bricks, which is very important here.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Beautiful
Not
bricks.
Ramita bricks.
Yeah, but they're beautiful bricks.
I thought he was actually eating the Sanctum Sanctorum. It looked like Doctor Strange's house to me. But little Marvel DC crossover.
That's a cool
I think somebody overcooked his steak a little bit.
All right, so I mentioned earlier that one of my favorite like modern artists is Eddy Barrows. He had just an amazing run on Detective. In fact, there are times when I wish DC had let him just do pretty much the majority of the covers, because he would do a bunch and then he'd have a break, then he would do a bunch more, then he'd have a break, and I just love his art. This one specifically is Detective 954, so it's Batman facing off against Ra's al Ghul, and even his Ra's is really spot on, and I feel like so many artists don't actually get Ra's right. And if you've ever had a conversation with Neil Adams about Ra's, because it's kind of his creation in a lot of respects, he thinks most people who draw who draw raws draw him incorrectly. This is definitely a case where I definitely feel like Eddy drew raws very correctly, and I think it's an amazing image.
Absolutely.
I love the sort of wash tone at the top and then pen and ink at the bottom. That's awesome.
It's Copics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eddy does all the pencils, and then he usually has Ever Ferreira who does his inks and with the Copics and whatnot, and it's like their combination is just fabulous. Like they work really well together.
Modern day dream team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And,
even if you there's YouTube videos they show Eber inking, and you know, and he puts like music to it for 5 or 7 minutes, and the guy is fast, and it's pretty amazing to watch him just shade things in and like sort of skip around the paper. So like he has a completely different eye than most of us.
Johnny McCloskey asked, do you prefer Barrows inked or just pencils?
Oh man, that's a good question. Most of the pencils I have from him are actually are prelims. Like I have a full-blown prelim, a couple of full-blown prelims that are all pencils that like just are so tight, like they could actually have almost been real covers.
They look like the
so I do actually. Yeah, they absolutely do. So I love Eddy's Eddy's pencils. Eddy's a pretty good inker too, though. Like he's no slouch there himself. So I think really to answer the question, I haven't really found any Batman art that Eddy's done that I haven't liked. Let's just put it that way.
That's good. That's the proper response probably to that question.
Yeah.
I don't think is there any just pure pencil? Fred might answer this before either one of us, David. Pure pencil Batman published stuff out there. I guess there.
Yeah,
well, the most recent thing he did. The most recent thing he did. There is, but.
I think he responded. Oh no.
No, that was
okay.
Yeah,
he hasn't quite answered that one yet.
But can you think of anything?
I mean, I'm not aware of any. Like everything I have is definitely inked. If it's not a prelim, so I'm not aware of anything.
And most of the prelims are inked too, as well, or a lot of them.
Most of them. So I think I have. I want to say I have 2 or 3 prelims that are not inked. Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
I can't think of anything.
That doesn't mean
other than what he just did. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, David, I have a question. Look, this is going back to your single days before you were married. Batgirl or Batwoman?
It's always Batgirl.
Wow, your voice changed a little bit on that one.
He sounded 20 years younger.
A little personal there. He's always.
Yeah, I don't mean to pry into your relationship, but certain questions have to be answered here.
Well, Batwoman is lesbian, so
it's okay.
This iteration and
so you don't got a shot at her.
Well,
if you're very, very, very attractive, maybe.
Moving right along.
I was gonna say, roll that next scan, Bill.
Oh no, this one's a unique one. I have a few Breyfogles. This one's actually not a cover, but the reason I chose this one is because it's so unique. This one's actually massive, and I might actually get up in a second and show you it framed because it's right here. But this one's like, I think it's 4 feet wide. It's a pretty massive painting. So the story behind this is that the director, actually I guess it was the producer, because Nolan was the director, but the producer for, is it Batman Begins or The Dark Knight? Maybe it was The Dark Knight Rises. It was one of the movies. I'm forgetting offhand. I may actually say it on my gallery page listing, but he actually commissioned Norm to do this, and it's kind of like the classic Batman on his throne. It's definitely an homage. It's an homage to. Now I'm blanking on who it's an homage to. Is it Silvestri? Maybe I'm forgetting. but it's definitely not his original image. But I feel like the way he did the image was just absolutely striking. Like it's all painted, and his brush strokes. And I'm just gonna have to show you in person because the picture just doesn't do it justice. So since it's framed here, and Bill, you might want to go full screen again. There it is framed, and it's big. Wow. It's really big, and a really nice frame on it. But if you go really close, this is done on canvas, and you can just kind of see the brush strokes and everything on it. Wow. It's just really nice. It's very different for Breyfogle. Like, it has his look to it for sure, but like I've never seen anything like it that Breyfogle had done. And then what's cool about the painting as well is same guy who did the other ones, Ruben Brennis from why am I not thinking Parker Jordan Art? That's what it's called, Parker Jordan Fine Art. He did the framing for that as well. So like I said, he does pretty much all my framing.
He sourced that style frame, like you knew that you wanted that, or he suggested that, or how did you decide which? Gotcha.
Yeah, he actually suggested that frame. He like the way he really enjoys trying to like figure out how to design the frames with me. And when he got this painting, it's actually a painting that I won off of eBay. And I had it shipped directly to him. So I never actually saw the painting before it was framed in person. I just had it shipped directly to him because it was such a big painting. Like, it didn't make sense to have it shipped to me and then pay to ship it again. And so he said his first thought when he saw it was, well, this is something I could envision hanging in a castle. So I want to give you a frame that kind of has a castle-like look. And then when he showed me this sample, I was like, well, of course, that looks perfect. And then when it arrived in person, it just blew me away.
Totally has that medieval look to it. Totally.
Yeah, that's why I was curious whether you had chosen it or if he had chosen it. It feels like really apropos.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I love the painting. And it's like I said, it's very different for Breyfogle. Like, I know I talk with a lot of people who are big Breyfogle collectors, and like to a T, like they've all said this is so different for him. We've never seen anything quite like this. So it's kind of a fun thing to have.
I've sold a couple of Breyfogle paintings, and they look nothing like that one. So yeah, that wouldn't have been who I wouldn't have guessed that was Breyfogle if you showed me that.
And then one final comment on this one before we move on. It also has 4 signatures on it. It's got the signature of the producer. It's signed by Christopher Nolan, signed by Christian Bale, and signed by Norman Breyfogle. So it's pretty cool. And I even have an authenticated COA that came with it from Warner Brothers. So like, it was like the real deal.
Wow.
Very impressive.
Oh yes, Drew Struzan. Yes, I believe it's actually the only Batman poster he ever did. He's done tons and tons and tons of movie posters and other types of posters in his career. I believe this is the only thing he ever did that was Batman related. What's interesting too about this one is that the bottom half of it is actually a Neil Adams panel. I actually asked Neil once if he could tell me which panel it was from, and he couldn't tell me off the top of his head. But it's clearly Neil Adams' art. And as a side note to that, Neil actually did a short run of this where he did a print. I guess he got permission to do it and sold it for a little while at conventions many years ago. But this is the original painting that was done for the poster. And an interesting trivia, and you probably can't see it too well in the picture, but down lower on the left side of the cape, there's actually a wrinkle in the canvas. And actually, it's technically not canvas; it's heavy art paper. But there's actually a wrinkle that was done pre-production, and in the posters that were printed, that wrinkle also shows up. So the wrinkle that's in the art right now actually became part of the published art too, which is kind of like a weird kind of interesting trivia fact about the specific painting.
The Adams panel, is that actual art that he recreated, or is that like a print part of the painting?
No, it's actually painted. So it was a recreation.
I see.
So yeah, definitely it's a little bit different from a lot of other things that I have. And I've always found it odd that the bat signal behind him doesn't actually have a source, like an obvious source, like you would expect it to have the streaming light behind it. So I've always kind of found that a little bit maybe odd about this painting, but it's a really cool painting. It's
No, the Batman in the movies, Batman starts wearing the bat signal like that on his back, so he doesn't need an art source.
Yeah, the other thing too that's interesting about that one is that you didn't see a lot of the kind of more realistic look for Batman in any sort of comic art back in those days. So it's almost Alex Ross like, well before Alex Ross was doing a ton of stuff. And it's not the same type of art obviously as Alex does, but definitely has more of that hyper realistic look, which was unusual back then.
Well, that's what Struzan's known for, really. So that's beautiful.
I don't know. This is a fun one, and it's definitely a little bit different. So, these days when toys are made, most of the art is done digitally. But there used to be a time when a lot of toy art was either hand drawn or potentially, like for larger boxes, it was actually hand painted. And so this is the original painting for the 1992 Kenner Batwing toy, which was, the box was probably, something like that. It's pretty decent sized box. And this was the original painting for that, and not something you find very often. I have some just kind of, pencil and ink drawings for, like for some action figure cards and things like that. But I remember when I found this, I was just blown away by it. And was really excited to be able to get it.
No, that's cool, and it screams Kenner of that time. It really does.
Yeah. Unfortunately, with this one, I have no idea who the artist is.
Are we talking Hasbro? I know it's not Hot Wheels.
It's definitely Kenner. They had the Batman license at the time.
All right.
And unfortunately, I don't know who the artist is for this one. There's no signature that I'm aware of or that I can see. And so if anybody listening or tuning in has any idea who the artist might be for this, or has any suggestions, I would love to know. It's also quite possible that it was just somebody that was commissioned by Kenner, because they had a group of artists that did all their box artwork. So it may not even be a well-known artist. But regardless, I don't know who it is, which is kind of a bummer. And I would love to know who it is at some point if I could ever figure it out.
Yeah, such a detailed piece for somebody not to sign it,
Well,
yeah, it's beautiful. Again,
now, did you buy it framed? I was wondering, a lot of times maybe these are signed on the backs, but I don't know if you bought it framed or matted or whatnot.
It was framed when I bought it. I'm actually not particularly fond of the frame, so I've thought about getting it reframed at some point. And so maybe when that happens, there'll be more information inside.
Yeah, maybe you could get lucky and it was signed on the back. Who knows?
Yep.
Feels like something that would have been in the WB Studio store when they were selling art and animation cells, etc.
Right. You would think that there's got to be a few guys out there who could figure that out, or who would know.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd love to know. Okay. All right, so
yeah, this is signed.
Yeah, no. So this is a piece I was really excited to get. It's by Kubert, and it's an homage to like the first Batman cover, and this was for issue 686, I believe it was 686. It's kind of the odd issue that kind of like was like a flashback and everything, and almost didn't make sense in the continuity. It was kind of like its own kind of standalone issue. So I'm pretty sure it was Batman 686, and this was a variant cover, but it was like the third printing. And so even getting the published comic with this cover is a little hard to find. I do have a copy of the comic. I plan on getting it, CGC signed and graded. I just haven't gotten around to doing it for everything that I have yet. But I love Kubert's kind of envisioning here and how he drew Batman and Robin, especially in that classic homage pose. So I think it's just really well done.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I like his work a lot too. It's interesting how he like Robin is like sort of childlike and yet kind of like strong looking at the same time, athletic, and Batman in sort of like the the more mature pose, I guess you could say. But it has a classic feel as well as a modern feel to it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting how their capes are both going in a different direction. I actually think that's sort of cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
Batman's cape kicked
That's
all
actually
kinds of ass.
my favorite piece that you've got us far, with the exception of maybe the Colan one we started with.
All right, so
I didn't know.
this one. Hey, look at you! I was actually gonna ask, does anybody know who the artist is? But yes,
Yeah,
right,
I said I can tell Eddie Newell. Eddie Newell's a local guy from Cleveland, Ohio, so I know his stuff right away.
Oh, very cool.
Very underrated artist. Very nice guy too.
So yeah, so this is not a cover, although it's certainly cover quality. This is actually a commission that he did for me many years ago.
Wow.
He was actually, I think, in between. Well, he was. I don't remember what he was illustrating. He wasn't illustrating Batman at the time, at least not for DC. But he went through a phase where he was doing a lot of commissions, and he was actually selling them on eBay. And so I actually reached out to him and said, "Well, I'd love you to do something like this one that you had listed, but I'd like it to be a little bit bigger. And would you be willing to do that?" And he said, "Sure." And he, ended up doing it for me. And what's funny, a funny story about this was he did a commission for me initially. Well, I'll take a step back. It took him longer to get it to me than I was initially hoping. And then he sent me a picture of the original that he did that he didn't like and said it wasn't good enough to send to me. And I looked at it, I thought it was amazing, but he wouldn't send it to me. So he basically redid it. And it's a painting. It's like a black and white grayscale painting. And when I received this, I said, okay, I agree with you. This one's definitely better than the one that you wouldn't send me. So it's kind of a little, fun background story for this specific commission. I had this done, I want to say it was like 2012 or 13. Actually, I think it does have the date on the
signed 2012. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've had this one for a little while, but and I have it hanging in a different part of my room. It's a little hard to get to at the moment, but it's also framed, and I have this cool black metal frame around it, so it kind of like shows it off really well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Eddie's art. I do have a cover by him that is listed in my gallery. It's the Legends of the Dark Knight 108. It's the one where he's kind of like dropping down to a motorcycle guy. Pretty cool cover as well. But I thought I would like go off the cover train for a second and show something from an artist that I do have, but that no one at least on CAF had seen before.
Very nice. We lost you, Bill.
Bill, we lost your sound.
Is that better?
Yes.
David,
Okay.
Carlos was asking in the comments where you got your Kubert cover.
Directly from him.
That's a good way to go.
That helps.
Yeah. So I'm pretty good friends with Jason Schachter from Essential Sequential, and he reps him. And
Right.
So he actually kind of gave me first dibs at it when Andy decided to let it go. It's been in his personal possession for a really long time.
Very nice.
So what I was trying to say was, as far as the toy art goes, you might want to contact Larry Wilson. He's on CAF. He used to run stores in competition to Warner Brothers, and I know he dealt a little bit in that artwork at that time, so he might have some insights into it as well.
Okay, that's good to know. I'll definitely have to reach out.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. This is not a piece of comic book artwork.
No. So this is actually an animation cell. This is from Batman the Animated Series, and the reason I chose this one in particular is because, well, it's actually got multiple layers of cells. Like each character is actually their own cell. So I think this one probably has about 12 layers of cells in it. But then the background is also original. It's original hand painted. A lot of times when you buy animation cells, they would reuse the same background for a lot of the different images in the sequence, and so there'd be one original background, and then you get a photocopy for like any of the other scenes or sequences in that scene. And so in this case, this is one that's 100% original. And I don't know how many of you were big Batman the Animated Series fans, but I was in I guess middle and then even going into high school when it was coming out initially. And I remember this is back when you actually had like cartoons on non-cable TV after school was done, and I would get excited to come home and watch Batman the Animated Series. I still think it's one of the best animated shows ever made. Period. Just the writing was really great. Kevin Conroy as Batman's voice. Luke Skywalker. Which is kind of funny, honestly, as the Joker. It's always funny to me to think of him as Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. But Mark Hamill does such a great Joker voice. It's just been absolutely classic. It was
What's
so
your
good
favorite season?
Favorite season of Batman the Animated Series? I actually still love the first season the best.
Do you? Okay.
I felt like, especially when you got to the last seasons where they kind of changed the costumes and the art style a little bit, I didn't like it as well. I really felt like the writing was so good in the first season, and there were a lot of great origin stories, like how Two-Face came into being, how Clayface came into being, how Man-Bat came into being.
Sure.
And they weren't the same as the normal canon, so they definitely took their own spin to it, but they introduced so many great classic characters. And then, of course, like I said, the Joker was fabulous. And the first season introduced Harley Quinn, which has obviously become a phenomenon at this point. And it's kind of crazy to think that Harley Quinn had her roots in from Bruce Timm and Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah,
Very true. I actually like that.
Final note on.
All I was gonna say is I liked it better than the X-Men cartoons. Everybody, and I love the X-Men.
Not even close.
It's the only
I agree.
DC thing I could say I liked more than something from Marvel.
And it doesn't look like Joker's evil in that thing because he's giving away candy canes. But what you don't know is those are mustard flavored candy canes.
Oh, I thought they might be bogey flavored.
So one final thing I'll say about that in general is that so I mentioned earlier my primary thing that I collect are covers. I also have a pretty extensive Batman the Animated Series cell collection, and I will select different pieces from episodes and then frame them together. So I have a number of framed groups of cells that represent different episodes, and I have a bunch that I haven't framed yet. But I absolutely love the art from that series, and have several portfolios full of Batman animated cells.
It was a great series. I mean, it paid homage to the 40s Superman, the Fleischer series, the sort of dark noir animation. But yeah, I mean, it was groundbreaking and memorable. And yeah, I was a little older than you, but I was definitely a fan of it. When it came out, and I don't think I missed a week when new episodes came out.
Yeah, and I have the Blu-ray collector set and everything. I love it. It's good stuff, and it's aged well too. Like you go back and watch it now, and they're still good. Like with anything, there's a few bad episodes here, but most of them are just like
on Superman, Justice League, and Batman Beyond, and it sort of grew. And their feature-length films, DC animation feature-length films, which I think Marvel still has not matched in the animation department.
Yeah, no, I think DC does much better in the animation department. Marvel, for the most part, does better on the big screen. I think that's definitely the delineation.
Can't argue that at all.
Oh yes. Anybody know who this is?
Perillo.
Yes, it is Lucio Perillo.
Yeah, he's a good artist. He is
Wow.
great.
So this is his painting that he did for Detective 1000. Definitely very if you know Lucio's art, it's very recognizable. Very creepy Joker, Batman and Catwoman, like it's all definitely him. This is actually a pretty large piece. He does most of his paintings on like a wood board. This one he actually did on a rollable canvas. Not sure why, but this one is on a rollable canvas, and it's bigger than his typical paintings. So this one is almost, I think it's about 2.5 feet tall. It's massive, and
Right.
pictures just don't do it justice.
Yeah,
it's an amazing painting.
He does almost all his art big, and it looks good. Yeah.
This yes.
Reminds
me that I should have included Catwoman in my former question to you, David.
Yeah, she's straight, so yeah.
Oh, Catwoman is looking fantastic on this.
Looks really great there, yeah.
Uh-huh. Gotta
Mr.
love them goggles.
And I love how creepy the Joker is here. Like he's just like
he really is.
really insane looking.
Yeah, I was going to make the detail image of the Joker, and I thought better of it. Mr. Easy Go Lucky asked, "Is this oils?" Because I'm not even familiar with what Perillo uses.
Yes, yes, it's all oils.
Okay. Yep, very nice.
Yeah, it's quite a painting.
Gorgeous.
And then there was this one last one that you threw in. Remember, you were twisting my arm to throw this last one in here, so we're going to show this.
Oh, yes. And this one is very, very different from anything else I have. You'll notice that of everything I've shown, this one doesn't have Batman in it. It is DC, though. So the story behind this is, first off, does anybody know who this artist is?
I do not.
No.
Is anybody familiar with Rob Pryor?
Name's familiar, but
so Rob is he did a bunch of heavy metal stuff back in the day, and what he's really well known for is he paints with both hands simultaneously, and he's incredible to watch. Super talented guy, and so he does the two-handed kind of drip painting approach, and he does a lot of really large paintings. He has a ton of licenses, and he does stuff for major like he paints things for celebrities all the time, and his stuff is in tons and tons of kind of like art galleries and whatnot. This piece in particular, he was basically asked to do. I forget which art gallery it was for now, but it was basically for. I'm not remembering what the initiative was for now, unfortunately, but it was some nonprofit kind of initiative where a bunch of the funds from the published pictures that were done we're going to go to some initiative. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember off the top of my head. But they were done on these. I think they were like 2x1 plays. Really nice pictures. This is the original art for it. It's got a bunch of members from the Arrow cast and a couple from Flash as well. I believe, with the exception of one character on here, it's been signed by every member of the cast. And the kicker here is that the painting itself is 8 feet wide by 4 feet tall, and framed, it's actually almost 9 by 5. And I don't know if you can see the frame very much, but it's like got this kind of triple effect to it. Really massive frame. It was shipped to me in a massive crate. Ruben from Parker Jordan Art also did the framing for this for me, and it's really striking. It's like I said, it's a little unusual for me to have this one because it's not Batman, but like it's so realistic looking in person. It's crazy.
David,
what does it cost to ship something like that?
So he actually did it freight on a truck, and he built a custom crate for it, and I still think it was like $2,000 to ship it.
Wow.
oh my gosh.
David,
was insane.
you like big art and you cannot lie. I mean,
That is something.
45 square feet of art here.
I was complimenting you on your bat cave. Like getting that into my house would never pass muster around here.
I was gonna say that like, does that fit in the bat cave? My goodness.
Yeah, it takes up a ton of wall space. In fact, it's actually right across from me. I'm looking at the painting right now. It's like literally right across from where I'm sitting.
Wow, that's something.
In fact, the Tony Daniel Batman 45 that I showed earlier with the prelim, the main one, and then the comic, it's actually it's directly to the left of the painting.
That's amazing.
So yeah, takes up a lot of space, but I do really like it a lot. I love Rob's art.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Getting the signatures of the artist, I think, just makes the piece. You know,
For the actors.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Having all their signatures on here is
that's awesome.
really cool. I have another piece that Rob did, that has the Christian Bale Batman and Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, and I have Christian Bale's signature on that one as well. It's not that big. It's probably like a 16 by 12 or something like that. It's a pretty small one by comparison, but same style of art though.
Mm-hmm. Wow, very very impressive. So when you get the room kind of cleared out, you should do some like a little video walkthrough, like when Dino did his art man cave thing, where he was able to videotape everything and show off the room. That I think, I'd like to see it. It seems like you probably have a lot more art that we could see on the walls and how you've laid out the room. I think that'd be pretty cool. If any,
yeah, I would actually love to do that. Right now, I still have a bunch of boxes in here. It's still kind of a work in progress. But once I get it to a little bit of a better state, I'll definitely do that. It's definitely been a labor of love. It's been a lot of fun to kind of build it out, and really think about how I can be creative with it and kind of give it that Batman feel, but also make it my own. It's been a lot of fun.
Very cool. Yeah, we did. I had Jeff Singh on Thursday, and he did this walkthrough of his basement area through about 3 rooms and a couple hallways, and it was just neat to see how he had everything laid out, because we had never had anybody do that before for an interview, where they actually videotaped the segment and then sent it to me and let me show it off, and it was a lot of fun to see that and then talk about it afterwards. So yeah, I'd love to get a look at the overall space. It seems very cool. Like you've done a lot with it, more than most.
Yeah, be happy to do it. Once I get it to a better state, I'll definitely do that for you.
Cool.
Well, and we'd all like to see what's behind Mike's bar as well.
Yeah. I don't know what they're talking about.
But I've already gotten some nice compliments, David. Daniel Evans said that, of course, this was a great episode, but lots of Batman art knowledge. So that's
sure.
Fantastic. And
I didn't even know who that Rupert Murdoch guy was you were talking about. I didn't even know who he was.
Rupert Thorne. Yep.
Oh, Rupert Thorne. Oh.
Yep.
See, you learn something new every day.
Rupert Murdoch is Bill Gates, Mike.
Rupert Thorne, a.k.a. Archie Bunker, a.k.a. Chief Gillespie.
Right.
If it's not comics, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's all good. A guy. If you know off the top of your head, David, somebody earlier about a half an hour posted, do you have technically a top 5 Batman artist of all time, sort of, that you like? Who would be in your top 5?
Oh man,
Neil
Adams would have to be in it for sure.
Uh-huh.
I don't think any list without I don't see how Jim Lee couldn't be in that list. And actually, interestingly enough, I don't own a Jim Lee cover at this point. That's definitely on my want list. That's definitely a gap. Definitely a gap in my collection, no question about it. It may be controversial, but obviously everybody knows at this point how much I love Eddy Barrows, and I think Eddy Barrows is definitely way up there. He's definitely a top 5 for me, like no question about it. Who else would I say beyond that?
You said you used to own so much Newton art. Do you still like Newton?
I do love Don Newton.
Let him come up with the
really-
choices,
it's really-
Mike. This is his 5, not yours.
I'm asking him.
It is really a shame. It's really a shame that Don Newton didn't really do covers, because some of his splashes were so great. Like some of his splashes were better than the covers that that the book appeared in. So
Right.
I don't know if I don't think I'd consider him a top 5, but I definitely like him a lot. I think Aparo probably has to be there in the top 5. Just love his art. And then maybe I'll go to one more modern artist. Maybe David Finch. I love David Finch's work. I think his Batman is so classic, and also has its own unique style too.
I know you didn't show any. Oh, go ahead.
I didn't show any Finch art in this, but like a cover that I do own that I really like by him is the Batman '82, the one that was the acetate cover that shows kind of like the Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman kind of twiddling the puppeteer strings for Bane. I don't know if you're familiar with that cover or not. It's a pretty recent cover, Batman '82. Really, I love that cover that I have by Finch. Really good cover.
I said there's so many guys that drew Batman over there. So if we all talk, we could think of over 100 artists, I'm sure, that drew Batman,
Oh yeah, and the thing is that even if they're not all in the top 5, like they're all really good. Like it's hard to come up with a Batman artist that I didn't think was good. There's just so many good ones, and they all have their own unique take on the character, which makes it that much more fun in a lot of respects.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bernie Wrightson does a really nice bat.
Yeah, he does,
Yeah.
and his definitely has a little bit more of that almost horror look to him as well at times. Just kind of very spooky, very creepy. Yeah, and ironically enough, I don't own any Bernie Wrightson covers either. That'd be another one that I'd love to have at some point.
And I also kind of like Kaluta's take on Batman as well. Mike Kaluta.
The long ear stuff, the Adams, Kaluta, it's all the same era, yeah.
I'd have to add Garcia Lopez Batman.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I was wondering if Will was going to say that or not, because I know Will absolutely loves Garcia Lopez. I do have one cover by him, Legends of the Dark Knight 20, the Venom cover.
Oh,
pretty great cover.
Yeah, I had a
Billy
bunch
Jones.
to that story. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly Jones and Tim Sale, and there's the list
so
could just keep going. All right, we could get to 100.
Those are good shows.
Nobody even talked about Bruce Timm, who did a lot of stuff too.
I don't know if we'll get to 100, but we'll get to 70 or 80 for sure.
I bet we could easily.
Really great.
But David, I don't know. It's been a lot of fun, man. This is I don't get to talk DC too often, so this was good for me. And Will is
great stuff, David. I was really impressed with a lot of that stuff. So thanks for sharing them.
Yep, and I know Will loves Eddy Barrows too. We always right, Will. I mean, it's like we almost.
Yeah. No, I brought these out just so David could check them out. I think he's seen them before.
More than
I said, and you guys,
Actually,
I made sure my background was all DC to make David feel better tonight. Make him feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Speaking of Eddy, like, I had sent Bill kind of like a picture of me with Eddy actually from New York Comic Con, where I'm holding 2 pieces of art, and they were from the Batman Giants that were kind of like redone. They were done initially mostly for Walmart, and then they were redone, and Eddy did variant covers for all of them, and some of them were just absolutely incredible. I believe in that picture that I sent, I had the first one with Clayface on it, and then the second one with Poison Ivy, which is actually kind of a double. It's 2 pages taped together, so it's like a really, really oversized cover. And just again, his work on those is just absolutely incredible. It's mind blowing to see them in person.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, not in sell mode, Carlos. These were collection pieces.
Yeah, there you go. Not like that all the time. Come on, but no, this was good. This was good. I even learned a little bit, I think. Seeing somebody even says Jerry Robinson. See, we could keep on going on and on about our Batman favorite artists. So, but we should probably wrap it up, guys. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. I saw one question from Ruben. He wanted to know if you picked up any of the Brad Walker Joker covers that were up on eBay recently. I didn't even see him, so I don't know what he's talking about. But
oh yeah.
I was able to get a couple.
Good. I've always liked Brad Walker's art a lot. I mean, he's repped, or at least he was repped by Splash Page, so I've seen a lot of his artwork. So I think it's great that he's working on these titles too.
Yeah, although at this point, I think he's done with Batman. He's actually not working for DC at this point. So he did that second arc of 5, and then he did, I think, 2 more covers, 1031 and 1032, if I'm remembering correctly. And then he's not working for DC at this point. So he's off. He's got a different project that he's working on now. And I believe he's still working with Drew Hennessy.
Well, cool.
Wow.
Yeah, great art. I love his art. No question about it.
Yeah, you made me think of like 3 more Batman artists just in the last 30 seconds.
Yeah,
they're all
I got a nice big Sprang right back there too. One of the greatest Batman artists of the Golden Age.
And there are so many like one-off artists too. Like we mentioned Hugh Fleming earlier. Like he did that one run of Legends of the Dark Knight, and then I think he did maybe 1 or 2 other covers, and that's all he did. Like Bart Sears is actually one that I really like, who I believe only did 4 covers total. He did 3 Legends of the Dark. Actually, he did 4 Legends of the Dark Knight issues 24 through 26, I believe, or 23 through 25, something like that. I actually have one of them. I have the one where he's like jumping with the, kind of like the bat with all the stuff on it. Kind of the Negan bat, I like to call it, well before Negan was ever envisioned for Walking Dead. I don't know if you know what cover I'm talking about or not, but pretty killer cover. And then he did Legends of the Dark Knight 200, which, and here I'm telling another quick story since I brought up Bart Sears. Legends of the Dark Knight 200 was actually initially supposed to be 2 issues, but DC decided to make it 1 mega issue. Bart Sears did 2 covers. He did one for 200 and one for 201. The one that showed up, the one with Batman and Joker on it, was 200. 201 he did as like a smaller prelim initially. They decided to do something else, so it never officially got published. I actually have the prelim for 201 that never got published, which is kind of fun.
Mike Zeck. There's another great Batman artist.
Yes, Zeck is good too. We could definitely keep going.
Paul Galassi.
Oh man,
Mike Nasser.
Picasso.
Trevor Von Eden.
Jim Mooney.
I have 2 covers by Von Eden actually. Legends of the Dark Knight 106 and 105 and 106.
Yeah, I like his
great artist
cover.
Ed Hannigan.
Hannigan, yeah.
Well, Ed Hannigan is my 3.
Pull the plug. We're trying to get to 100.
Giordano.
Rembrandt.
That Catman cover I showed you earlier, that's Ed Hannigan.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
El Greco.
Who?
You're going way off the beaten track there.
Haven't had my dinner.
No one's mentioned Infantino yet. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
got it right there.
I was gonna say I saw like a page from issue 500 over your place this weekend, Berkey.
Oh, that was an Infantino. Yeah. He did the story in Detective 500. Yeah.
Yeah, it was it was in one of the bins, an interior page. So yes, very nice. Yeah, the list keeps growing in the chat though.
We're repeating.
Herb Novick, Ross Andrew.
No, we're repeating. We're retreading here.
Yeah.
Rafa Albuquerque.
It's like Albuquerque.
Dang it.
And he doesn't live in New Mexico. Yeah, I said Giordano earlier. Yeah. Mike Mignola, Death in the Family. Oh, Lord.
All right. That's it. That's enough. Stop the madness.
We're giving love tonight.
Yes, we are. But I'm going to turn into a pumpkin because I've had a very long day. So I'm going to say we're going to call it an evening. Is that all right, everybody?
All right.
All right. Well, thanks again, David. It was great having you here.
Yeah, David was a
I've
lot
been
of
catching
fun.
up, David.
Nice seeing you, David.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really had fun.
No, we appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. And thanks to everybody for tuning in this evening. We had a great turnout.
Great show tomorrow night, everybody. Okay, happy days.
Watch that shirt, man.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.